Well, good evening, everyone. And I guess April was the only one here at the moment that was at our Saturday retreat, our half day. I felt it was quite successful. It was great to see those that you know did show and participated. I think we burned off some karma, got some people back on track, and we're going to be. Oh, here comes Johnny. We're all going to be having another retreat in March, and this will be a full day. So if any of you can look ahead in your schedules and can grace us with your presence, we would be love to see everybody and get everybody tuned up and get their rockets blazing again and whatever it is that we do. So basically, what we talked about on Saturday in a nutshell, and basically I'll summarize it with the George phrasing, is that there are two, in a sense, paths. And he always talked about two stories. That's what he would say. The one story we talked about, in a sense, at the retreat, we talked about where I was standing, where the sunlight was hitting, and it was great because it was like a light there. And I was saying it's like the first story is about getting our thingy here, our body as we call it, our tolka, whatever it is, to stay in the light. That's the first story, and that's where religion, yoga, diet, everything that we do to try to balance the body, self, as we call it, to stay in the light. Basically, to go in the light, because that's the first story, right? The second story is that right here, right now, you are free. Of course, I point there just because it's not pointing at this thing. That's not you up there. It's just a place mark I put there because my Annabelle likes it like that. Like saying, oh, okay, it's not this thing, so it's something else. So something other. George talked about that we are that thing that is other. And that's the second story. So maintaining our energy in the light as much as we can, staying in the tones, not having stinking thinking, right? Keeping our emotions in check, that kind of thing, that keeps us in the light, keeps us staying in a higher frequency. Because without that, it's almost literally impossible to wake up from that point. Because it's so distracting. Like I said, the world is so distracting. I mean, it's amazing how dysfunctional the world now has become. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. It doesn't matter, who you vote for. It doesn't matter. Everyone's dysfunctional at this point. And except for people that I'm looking at right now, I couldn't say I've met someone who has a healthy mind, as we would say it. That they're mostly have a stinking thinking, mostly are still blaming, still trying to control people, still trying not to be controlled, still resisting people, resisting anything. Of course, none of us here do any of that, right? So the thing is that we're trying to stay in the light as we are. But just remember this. This is very important of the two stories. What they call enlightenment, like George would say, is really just an integration of our energies. That's all. Because there are two stories. We integrate our energy because it gives us the greatest opportunity to go, oh, right, I'm not. So it's funny because we work so hard to keep our energy up. And yes, that's a good thing. Like George said, the 10 Commandments were just big guidelines for better living, right? Just a few helping hints. That's really all they should have been stated as. And, Christ came along and said, look, there really is only one commandment. Love like God loved us. That's it. You don't need the rest of them. Why? Well, as we know, when we get in the light, or stay in the light, or get in our bliss, whatever that is, what problems? What do you got to solve? I mean, you don't have to worry about the fruits of the Lord at that point. You don't have to worry about scripture or anything. from that point of view. However, we don't want to get stuck there, right? And then that's the case. I mean, we're kind of blowing past a bunch of principles right now, but you guys can take it. We're going to keep going with this thing, okay? So this is just a quick summary of what we talked about on Saturday. The Saturday we said about staying in the light. And that's the first bag, or not first bag. I'm getting ahead of myself here, sorry. The first story. The second story is basically this. We back up, we back up, we back up, we back up, we back up until we go, oh, I don't have a wall back there. It'd be nicer if I did. Well, it was way back there. But it would be nicer. Let's imagine there's a wall here. And you stop. And you go, wow. Everything is in front of me. Hopefully, right? And that's the second story, that right here, right now, you are free. And how much you experience that freedom depends on where you are. Like if here's free, and like here's like completely asleep. It just depends on where you are on the continuum to this point. So, but we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater regarding feeling good, not having stinking thinking, being on the path. I mean, we can say following the universe, following God, following the Holy Spirit, whatever the word is. Remember, because from the light, all things manifest, right? Because we have the Tao that can be explained, which is the light, right? And all things that came from it. And then the Tao that can't be talked about back there, right? So remember that there are two stories to the thing. And we want to work kind of, in tandem. George used to call it a two-prong attack. Remember that? He would say that, a two-prong attack. Well, he used to say that to me all the time. I don't know if he said it to anybody else. But that was what he used to say, is that, we're gonna work on staying in the light, which is like, letting go of problems, letting go of karma, getting into the right frame of mind, not blaming, the no dysfunctional thinking that she, he, it did it to moi, that we take responsibility for our actions, we take responsibility for our karma. And even from there we become empathetic at first, hopefully never sympathetic, because that means you just jumped in the pool with everybody else, but we want to stay empathetic at least. Then we want to get to compassionate, which at that point we're starting to bridge all the way back there and the light at the same time. Because it's right at that point that you start to see that this is just a game. Because the only thing that's real, the only thing that's real, is you. Everything after that is a projection of your bodhisattva. Hopefully a good projection. That's the truth. Now, whether or not your doggies, your bodies believe that or not, whether your doggies, your bodies are perceiving that or not, whether your doggies or bodies, could care less if that's true or not, or have some better version. I don't like that. Whether you like it or not, some variation of that theme is the only truth there is, whether you believe it or not. Because if you think that I'm going to use the body's name here, I am Brian, as a truth, it's a lie. It's a lie. It is a lie. It's a figment of it's imagination. We made it up. Or we got hypnotized, right? Remember that? George used to talk about being hypnotized. Because we could even come like this. We could start back here. And we could say that you had something that bought into someone else's lie, and you accepted that lie to be true. And it becomes real. And that's why, George liked to use the Chinese or Taoist way of thinking of waking up from the dream. That we're hypnotized. We're waking up from being hypnotized. I find this fascinating. And since all of us have had dreams, right? I don't think anybody here has never had a dream before. So we'll say all of us have had dreams. Isn't it fascinating how suggestive, how suggestive, how easily it is we're suggested into with the dream. Like it's so real. We play along. And then we wake up and go, oh, it was just a dream. But isn't it fascinating? That, and what I find fascinating is that sometimes I will hear my dreamer talking and say, oh, this is going to happen next. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, we're dreaming right now. So I just wait for it to actually happen next. And it's like, oh, there it is. So the story writer in there, is in there telling us a story and we believed it. Right? Well, the best part of that is, or the worst part, depending on where you're at, guess what? That's the same here. Someday, we're going to wake up from, just like our subconscious dreaming or Annabelle dreaming at night, we will wake up from our conscious dreaming the same way and go, oh, it was all a dream. Okay? It's true. This is a dream. We are in a dream world right now. It is a shared dream that we all agree. And that's why we can, we can have similar, experiences with each other. Why we can see each other right now. Why we could, if we asked, let's see, Meredith to describe Christina, she could give, we'd all agree with her description because we're right now all sharing Christina's projection of herself. So we're going, oh, our mind said, that's what Christina looks like. That's what Julia looks like. That's what it's saying. But, it's not true. As like we've said before. We're all just 7 years old. That's it. We're all 7 years old. That's it. Someplace between 1 and 7. Because remember, our body generates itself every 7 years. Then why do we look like little 7-year-olds? Or why do we look the way we look? Well, that's what we dreamed ourselves to look like. So all our chi then told our electrons, neutrons, protons, whatever it was, and then created cells, and then those, in the midst of all that, aligned themselves from that consciousness. And then we had a brain that made, I feel that. Oh, it must be real. Right? Must be real. No. That it's this part of the dream world. Remember, in our dream, it seemed real then too. We were easily suggested in there that it was completely real. And then we wake up and go, what the heck was that all about? So, the good and the bad is that if we don't like our dream right now, and we feel we can't change it, just means we need to raise our consciousness enough and open ourselves to that which has a higher awareness, or higher consciousness. Hopefully we have that already, like intuition, inspiration. But if we're only going off of our thoughts and our feelings, then we need to move to a higher consciousness, right? We need to and stay there until, our baseline consciousness, moves up another notch, another chakra. Most everybody here, you have to be beyond the second and third most or a lot of the time, or you wouldn't find any of this interesting at all. I mean, it would just be nonsense, just malarkey, as they used to call it, just bull. I'm going to my whatever. But no, if you hear this discussion, and there's some sort of, right, oh, yeah, or, I don't know about that, but, okay, then there has to be, you've heard it somewhere before, or even more so, your truth, your you is listening. Of course it is. Of course it's listening. It's actually listening, hearing, seeing right now. You just think it's this thing. Those little bodies out there. You think it is. That's that discussion. But there will be a day, and there probably has been already in some of your meditations or just hopefully experiences, or maybe day to day, where you go, oh, I just have one of these. I'm just moving around. But that's not me. It's not me. And then you take care of it better too. You wash it, you walk it, you water it, you feed it, right? You like Jordy there. You sleep at night. It's like you do these things, and it's like that you just take care of your little pet. You just put a little collar around it, you put a little handkerchief around it. You take it for a walk. And then take it around and see the other pets and say, you guys, interact, but you won't take it so seriously. But if you do get sucked into the dream again, well, we have our tools, right? We have our tools. And at this point, George said this, like a year before he decided to, let go his corporal form. He said, at this point, guys, you really need to be paying more attention to the part that doesn't die. I wouldn't worry so much about the one that dies. And he said that. So I think at this point, especially the way the world is at this point, and the way everything is at this point, it's like, keep taking care of the body. Keep it on track. But you guys got to keep focusing on higher, higher, higher. Everything above the third. So we get to the pole. Remember the pole carpet and that routine? We got to get off the carpet. And in a sense, you're moving the carpet up, but yes, get off the carpet. Because it's just getting too crazy out there. Too heavy. Yeah, that's a good word. And it's just like, we want, our body self, to, have a wonderful time. But unfortunately, being around the public or people, the more you're around them and you've noticed that they're dysfunctional, unless they come up with you when you walk in the room, that's going to be tough. Squaring off with these people. You better really start getting into that intuition and becoming compassionate and knowing how to discuss things with dysfunctional people without you getting muddy yourself. And, let the universe move that body wherever it needs to go. Because it's supposed to be taking care of you. It is taking care of you. We just don't let it. Or we take credit. So just, keep your mindful eye on your doggy. That it's, it has, not stinking thinking, bad feelings, dysfunctional thoughts. And you catch it, just go, hey. Stop that. Whatever it is task you do get your dog back, walking the line you want it to walk. Now remember this. One of the most important lines, pages, chapters in the Diamond Sutra is chapter 6. And the Buddha brings up that there will be a time period where people will show up that have pure faith. Excuse me. And this is supposed to be that time period. And pure faith is the best way to describe it, is you don't follow your brain, yourself, any doubts or thoughts, that you completely follow the truth. Follow the Father, follow the Tathagata, whatever it is you call your source. And it's okay to hear your brain chattering away. It's okay to hear it, doubt things. Just keep saying to yourself, the content of awareness is not me. The content of awareness is not me. The content of awareness is not me. That is the ultimate truth. In the end, you will find that is the only truth we can utter regarding you. Because you are the only constant. You, to the lack of a better word, are pure. You have no pockets to put anything in. And if your self comes up with a doubt, get into love. Get back into love. No. Back into love. Back into love. Back into love. Let that go. Let that go. Let that go. Let that go. Peace, harmony, unity, oneness, right? And then we go, oh. Okay. Remember, there are two stories. One, we stay in the light. Two, the content of awareness is not me. Is the simplest way to say it. That everything will be in front of you. And it's erroneous to think that when you wake up, that you will get anything because you created everything in the first place. So how could you give yourself anything if you created it all? That you are all. You are complete. So if your world is getting in between you and your peace, what do you think you should do? Keep letting it beat you up? Or maybe you should do something about it. Move your energy up. Move your energy up. Move your energy up. Maybe we'll just call that's this lesson. Move your energy up lesson. I mean, if you're kvetching about anything, Trump, whatever, around the world, or whatever this, or my car sucks, whatever it is, or my job sucks. Well, guess what you're blaming? You put that in there. This is their world. Give to Caesar which is Caesar's, and then we wake up and we'll all meet each other in the kingdom of heaven. You know, what are we going to do if they don't want to wake up? We're gotta have to leave them go, let them go. Guess what? And they'll all wake up eventually, anyways. Everyone wakes up eventually. If not in this lifetime, then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, whatever, until aha. So, the two stories. We stay in the light. And we keep uttering the mantra that the content of awareness is not you. Okay? Now, I guess we'll do a short meditation. Let's do that. Help clear out any chakras. You want to pause the recorder?